What's up everybody, I'm Jesse, this is my garage, these are the cars, here's the project car. That's what we're talking about today, and if you didn't watch the last video, we've got a mess under there, rear suspension's all dropped, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 5 ways to start increasing the horsepower on your 300ZX. All right, well, you've got yourself a classic JDM sports car, the 300ZX, and you decided, hey, you know what? It's time to start extracting some more ponies from underneath the hood. Well, here's 5 things that are gonna help you do that. Make sure you stay around to number 5 because that's the most important. That's what will tie all this together and actually be able to start seeing gains. But number 1 on the list, that's a new exhaust, baby. All right, so we wanna start making more power. We need to let our engine breathe, and we need to get the exhaust gas out of there in a mannerly fashion. And now this is going to be my complaint, I guess, that the options on my last video about 5 reasons why you should own a 300ZX, I did say there was parts, and lots of parts. Well, there is lots of parts, but when it comes to the exhaust on the 300ZX, there's actually not that many options, and especially if you're like me, and you've got the 2+2 4-seater, there's even less options. Like, come on, HKS, you couldn't give us a high point exhaust for the 4-seater? That's kind of crazy, especially because I read that most of the twin turbo 300ZXs in Japan, AKA the Fair Lady Z, were actually the 2+2 model. And that's what makes the 2+0 slick top twin turbo the rarest model of them all. So it's kind of silly that HKS didn't actually give us the exhaust for that, but that's another rant. That's me, because that's the exhaust I want for this car. But anyways, exhaust options, if you have the coupe, you got a little bit more options to work with. If you have the 4-seater like me, you might have to start thinking out of the box. But that's number 1. It's gonna open up, let the exhaust flow out, your turbos breathe, if you got the twin turbo, or just let your exhaust, your NA motor, get that exhaust out of there as fast as it can, keeping the right back pressure on the motor and keeping everything healthy and happy. Not only does it increase horsepower, but it also makes your car sound pretty cool. So a lot of the exhaust modifications are for sound. Let's be honest, we want our car to sound good, not too loud, maybe like loud, not too raspy. There's a fine sound tuning that goes into exhaust, so make sure you do the research, find out which one is going to work for you. Like I said, I want the HKS High Point. I have that exhaust on my S13 240SX. It sounds amazing. I really wish they would make it for the 2+2, but that day is long gone. And at least if you have a coupe, that is a solid option for you. All right, well, number 2 on our list is what's underneath this panel right here, and that is your air box, air filter, intakes, whatever you want to call it, or whatever you want to do. Not only do we want to get the exhaust out of there, we also want the fresh air to be coming in and make sure that it's unobstructed and can breathe properly. Now, there is actually a good amount of options for the 300ZX for doing this. Now, we have our one mass airflow, the Z32 mass airflow sensor, which is like the go-to mass airflow sensor for Nissan sports cars. It is awesome, and it's probably because it runs a 6-cylinder through one mass airflow sensor. So there's one mass airflow sensor on this car. And before that, we have our Nissan, right under this plate right here, our factory Nissan air box, which has 2 filters on it. So, you know, go aftermarket, throw some K&N filters in there. We can just go with OEM replacements to make sure they're clean. And this is like the number 1 thing I'm going to say on new intakes or air filters. Now, all the cone ones, everything looks cool, right? You put K&N ones, it's cool. You put cone air filters in, it looks cool. But what I want to say is you're not done there, because you still need to periodically maintenance them. Wash your K&N air filters, wash your cone air filter, whatever it is you need to keep up on it. Just because we threw one on there in the beginning, and then, you know, 6 months, 12 months later, we're driving this car all the time and we have never touched our air filter, but hey, we got aftermarket intake on there, right? Well, no, it's super dirty. Like, we got to keep that stuff up. So I think people get lost in the fact that they throw it on there, it always needs maintenance. It's a part that always needs maintenance. It always needs cleaned, and it always needs to be in good operating condition. I've seen K&N filters. It's like, I got a K&N, but it's nasty. You would be better off with just the factory OEM ones and throwing a new one in there every time to keep it clean and keep it flowing. Because if it's clean, it's flowing the most air pressure. See where I'm going at this? Not air pressure, but it's flowing the most air. Volume is getting through the filters, getting to the engine, making more power. So if we have dirty filters, I don't care if it's aftermarket or if it's OEM, if we have dirty filters, we're not going to be making any more power. You might as well just put brand new filters in there. But after this, like I said, we can ditch the OEM airbox. We can put a cone filter on there. You can do some crazy like dual intake setups and use one MAF and a balancing tube, all kinds of stuff like that. You can actually even put two MAFs on there if you want, but we'll talk about that later. Like I said, make sure you stay till the end because I got a little tip that's gonna tie all this together, and I'll touch back on the mass airflow sensor. And if you wanna run dual intakes on tip number 5. So there's lots of options for that. The number one takeaway for the intakes and modifying that is keep it clean, keep it in working order. If you have a K&N filter on there, make sure you clean it. If you have aftermarket cone filter on there, make sure you clean it. They still get so nasty and people are just automatically check that box. Well, that box gets unchecked within about 6 months of driving. So that's number 2, intake. And I think the most important thing is keep it clean. All right, well, we've got our intake, we've got our exhaust, the air is flowing, we're getting lots of air in, we're getting all the exhaust out. Now it's time to have a little bit more fun and really start getting some horsepower. I'm talking boost controller. Now we got the twin turbo, we need to spool those bad boys. We don't want 7-8 pounds of boost, we want 14 pounds of boost. We really want to start to feel this thing come alive. So that's what I'm gonna say. Boost controller is gonna be your friend. There's all kinds of different options for this. Now, don't just stop the video here and go throw a boost controller on your car because that is on you. You need to stay to the end so we can wrap all this up and you get the best performance possible. Do not go buy a boost controller, stick it on your car and just start cranking it up and hope everything's gonna be okay. Because I tell you right now, it's not gonna be okay. But boost controller can be really fun way to start extracting more power. But with more power, like they say, comes more responsibility. So we have electronic boost controller, we have manual boost controller, we got different wastegates we can put on there. There's different way to control the boost levels, and that will different ways to extract more power out of your car. More boost, more PSI, we're gonna need something to go with it. That's gonna bring me to number 4 on the list, and that's gonna be more fuel, baby, for more horsepower. We're definitely gonna have to have some more fuel. We can't supply an engine with air and then not supply it with fuel because we're gonna go lean, we're gonna start detonating our engine, we're gonna melt pistons, it's gonna be a bad time. So, now depending on your option, we're talking about fuel system. If we're gonna run the stock ECU, probably wanna throw a fuel pressure regulator in there with a gauge so we can actually see and monitor the fuel pressure out of aftermarket fuel pressure regulator, but you might not need one if you stay till number 5 and we talk about that. So we'll throw a new fuel pressure regulator on there, probably need a new fuel pump. Actually, you definitely need a new fuel pump. We need to upgrade our fuel pump, throw a fuel pressure regulator on there, and then we're gonna need to up our injector size. Now, there's different sizes that you're gonna actually need to do some research, what you're trying to achieve, and honestly, what kind of fuel are you gonna be running? Are we gonna run an E85 exclusively? Are we gonna do a flex tune? Hint, hint, stay to number 5. And then, are we gonna run 93 octane? Are we gonna run 91 octane? Do you have a place more? Like, what are we gonna run? How much fuel are we gonna need? And what is our actual horsepower goals? But we need to put some more fuel in it. So that's number 4, fuel injector. All right, so we went through exhaust, we've went through intake, we've got a boost controller on there, we've got some more fuel, but now how do we make all these things work together? Now you can absolutely, well, I guess you could put all these parts on the car and try to run it, but you're just gonna be wasting your time, wasting your money. Do not do that. We are going to have to tune and tell the ECU how we want all this stuff to operate on our motor, keep it efficient, and this is where really we're gonna see mad horsepower gains. This is what it's all about. This is why I said stay to number 5. This is the most important, tuning. Now, we can just flash tune this ECU that's on here. We can take it to a dyno shop. They can, well, you know, find a good one, a reputable one that can tune, but they can put it on the dyno and we can have it tuned right there. You can adjust your fuel map for the new injectors that we've got, you know, set our boost levels, make sure nothing's detonating, make sure we're running the correct air fuel ratio, all that good stuff. We can also, they have mail-in flashes, tell Z1 or RS Empathy Tuning, you know, what exactly the specs you are running. They can pull an off-the-shelf tune, flash your ECU, send it back to you, and you can have everything working, like I would probably say 90% efficient. Be 90% efficient. You get the extra 10%, throw it on the dyno and get it actually custom tuned to your car. But you know, a mail-in flash tune isn't a bad option. It is, sometimes it's the only option for some people that can't travel maybe, or doesn't have a reliable tuner, or, you know, we're not trying to extract every horsepower, but we want to get the gains, but we don't necessarily, you know, we're still a street car, still a daily driver, but maybe I want a daily driver with 400 horsepower and not, you know, the 300 that, you know, comes off the factory. So, and I can just get a mail-in tune and work that way. Whatever it is, you're winning. You do that, that is winning. You are on the right track. All right, you get some dyno tuning, you get a mail-in flash, you're doing good. Your car is gonna be performing freaking awesome. And you're taking care of business, doing things correctly, because we can't bolt all these other parts on and then not tell the ECU what's going on because it's running off of the factory tune that, you know, came out of the factory 30 years ago with the factory parts. The gas has changed since 30 years ago. So that's just a reason you should get a tune anyways. But another thing for tuning and like an ECU flash type of deal is we could just go straight crazy and go for an aftermarket ECU like a Haltech or an AEM or any of that super cool stuff. We can integrate our boost controller into it. Haltech has a boost controller just like built right into it. You just have to get the adapter, put it in. You don't have to run another boost controller. It's all done on your ECU. Same thing with the fuel pressure regulator. If we run an aftermarket ECU like a Haltech or an AEM, we don't have to run a fuel pressure regulator because we're gonna have a fuel sensor and we can just look right on the computer, boom, that's what our fuel pressure is right there. We'll know exactly what it is and we'll know exactly what it's set to, and we won't have to overbuild in our engine bay. Keep it looking super slick, super clean, putting down mad horsepower. But that is definitely gonna be on the dyno and getting some dyno tune to get everything just where it needs to be safely, making power, and having a sweet, reliable ride, getting you some horsepower that you wanted to unlock. All right, well, that was 5 ways to start making horsepower in your 300ZX, or at least get you thinking about what do I want to build this car for and kind of how to start it. Now, of course, you cannot start messing with your fuel without telling the computer. So don't start with new fuel injectors and then wonder why my car isn't running. Well, it's because the computer has no idea what's going on there. So those go hand in hand. But exhaust, I would say number 1. Number 2, intake, or make sure at least your air filters are clean if you're gonna do anything, but that's a maintenance video, that's for something else. Number 3, boost controller. Like I said, do not plug a boost controller in and then not adjust your fuel and then not tell your computer what's going on. You will blow up your engine. You'll have a bad time. So 1 and 2, I would say we could do without tuning. Once we hit 3, we absolutely need to at least have our ECU reflashed to tell the computer how to run the engine and what's going on. Because trust me, you don't want to put a $300 boost controller on your car, turn it up, and then blow up your motor. And let's be honest, your car is probably going to go to the junkyard, or I'll buy it. I'm just kidding. But don't blow up your car. Definitely don't blow up your car because you watch this video. And then of course we got our boost controller for more boost. We need more fuel, and then we need to tell the computer what it's doing. So we do all 3 of those things. You're going to be happy. You're going to have a sweet ride, and you're going to be able to enjoy your JDM Icon car until you do something stupid with it or upgrade it to the next thing. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something, or at least get you thinking about what the next step, or maybe even the first step for your vehicle is. If you like what we do here, please head over to my Patreon page at Jesse's Garage. Help and support the channel. Make sure that we can keep coming up with new content for you guys. If you want to see the build on this 300ZX, because I'm going to be honest, that's pretty much what's happening on this channel right now, is this build. We actually have some other stuff over there, 240, 350. I do work on them periodically, but right now we're trying to get this thing up and running. It is the project car. I bought it to work on it with you guys, so thank you so much for watching. Do appreciate it. Head over to Instagram at Build Theory. Throw me up some pictures of your cars. I always love to see other builds. And until next time, I will see you soon.